What would a world?
Yes, it is. Okay, it's T2sday. Welcome. The goals for today. Notice there was a period at the end of Beevee localizes. That's how confident I was 1 month ago on March 4th. That is to say, 1 month ago on February something or other, that we'd have Beevee localizing and maybe even building a map of his location or something like that. How we actually did. One little hitch, and I'll talk about that mostly, and make shopping lists. I'll talk about that as well. So I think I showed this last time, but I ended up not using it. But I'm feeling it more and more. To change the world, you must first model the world, and the way that you choose to model it makes a big difference. And we have this sort of clash of world models happening more and more in the world today. I still have a little bit of hope that the democratic embracing spirit first world model will ultimately prevail, but man, it's looking pretty tough. Okay, so development, Project 2025, Dave's Project 2025, and Outreach AI at the end. We'll see if we have anything like time to get to that. If we don't, that I'll put a link down below. And for folks that are watching the update, if you watch the beginning of the live stream that this update is cut from, you'll see what I'm talking about. All right, so progress in localization. Well, need to fix one little thing first. Some stuff was bugging me, and it ate up most of February. So specifically, I had a bunch of pain points, and it was like, okay, things. I mean, I'm not sure why I seem like I'm almost deliberately sabotaging my own stuff in order to avoid localization, but I don't know. So one of the things I did is make the simulation take one of these configuration files so that I can make starting locations point in different directions. I can include the yellow balls or not, and so on and so forth. This is something that I've wanted for over a year, I think, that I finally went and did. And also, the crossbar mechanism that underlies Beevee's brain was great. I don't regret it at all, but it was very limited. And now we have the new XBlock technology, which, as you can see from this feature checklist, it puts X bar to shame. X bar, you could only populate two edges, one input edge, one output edge. X block, you can use all four. You can, instead of only sending signals in two directions, down, over, like that, you can have stuff going in every direction at once. It's a four-way street, so on and so on and so forth. This took a while, but the result is so in the old crossbar way, all you did was say which side north was going to be the input, which side west was going to be the output, because that was all it could do. Whereas now you can put taps, input, output sensors, terminal access points on all four edges, north, south, west, and so forth. You can specify a stride. Is it going to be a tiny little dense one or a more spread out one, and so forth. And it's been great. And there's an addition. There's another new configuration file. So it's one redone and two brand new configuration files. This one to describe the behavior of the grips, in particular to describe what signal routing should happen depending on different grips. And it's got a bunch of nice features that I feel pretty good about. And as a result, a lot of what was happening after I started to get this stuff to work. So you can see here, these are new ones. If you look closely, the blue crosses, those are on the 3x3 stride. Those are our good old friend HC3, hard cell 3. But now the X blocks are not exactly sitting on top of the X block background, and they don't have to. They can in fact live without the blue grid entirely, which I like. Except at the moment, the blue grid is used to broadcast when the grips change. And so Yeah, so here's an example. We've started a flood to build an axon, to grow an axon from one tap to another. And in this particular case, there was a bug in the configuration file that ended up causing the entire grid, the underlying HC3 grid, to suicide because the root of it, which was over in here, got stepped on by one of the XBlock nodes, and as a result, the entire grid is ultimately hanging off of that single root at the center of it all. If the root goes, it all goes. But most of this stuff was still working, except for the grip changes. So, in the future, I may think about getting rid of the overall grip. We'll see. Now, all right. So here, this little tiny little 1x1 XBlock, I just moved it to the other side because why not? Because all it took was changing a few bytes of the configuration file and rebuilding, and so forth. Later on, I moved it down to the bottom because it seemed like it was going to want to connect to the hot box as well as to the gray sensor processing and so on. And, it got more and more complicated. It could tune these things around. It was great. I mean, of course, it took a bunch of time, but this is nice. So that's the development picture. Let's take a look at our one and only Beevee for this update about what we got out of all of that, where we failed to get localization, but we got this instead. One day, Beevee was watching old baby movies in the lab when Slim showed up. Hi, Beevee, said Slim. Hi, Slim, said Beevee. Look what I found, said Slim. Slim held up a USB key. I think it's got pictures of you in it. Well, let's play it and see, said Beevee. Slim looked at the screen. Is that you? asked Slim. Where are your eye stalks? I didn't have any at first, said Beevee. They only showed up after a while. Wow, that's wild, said Slim, plugging in the USB key. He pushed play. Who's that dude? asked Beevee.
So I'm going to show you.
No idea, said Slim. Looks like an academic.
Results
What's
coming
that?
out of our lab
Academic, asked Beevee. Well, I'm not really sure, said Slim. They're like tech writers, but there's no tech with it. They're like developers, but their code is really, really bad. They're like, this is boring, interrupted Beevee. Let's skip ahead. Wait, there's me, said Beevee. Hey, I remember this. This is new stuff.
The background is all this light blue color, this kind of sky blue color, and yet Beevee has turned away from the red edge, the red void, and that is part of the new results in the sense that typically avoiding the red, which is instinctual, as we say in the lab. And
Instinctual, haha, said Slim.
Approaches the red, but does not freak out, and instead slows to a stop, makes a controlled turn, and picks up speed again. This process of driving as far as possible until encountering the border, the red border zone, and then turning left, produces a border patrol drive in the neural that can use obviously for which
can obviously be valuable to somebody. Blah, 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 said Beevee, skipping ahead again. There's some useful fun stuff up here. He acquires the line. I mean, these are all nested, subsumptive behaviors. And once again, a new brain. This one, my, dear me. Hey, screw you, said Beevee. I'm not your dear anything, okay?
The wrong line. Now 1, 2, 3 requires from 1 rather than 2, which is what had been running. But overall, we may be able to see when we get to the next edge here.
But right down here, there's a little blue spot that you'll see, and when Beevee gets close enough, that spot will turn red, and there it is. There it turned red, and that's where the higher functions of Beevee's mind, I use the term in quotes, of course, since philosophers and academics said the meaning of mind, always so pompous. There we have it. Ah, well, said Beevee, I guess I don't mind. Ha ha, said Slim and Beevee. They laughed and laughed. So that's Beevee. Beevee now marches on border patrol, almost always being two cells in. I'm still tweaking the PID controller that I talked about last time, partly because I didn't realize how tricky the interactions between them are, and also because the XBlock, the conversion from XBar to XBlock changed a lot of stuff, but it's getting there. Right now, Beevee with his XBlock brain is not as fast as he used to be with the XBar brain. Okay, Dave's Project 2025. The question is what to do in the second half of 2025. This was what I showed last time. In the first half, we're trying to do Beevee's world model, still trying to figure out exactly what that is. Second half, do architecture spikes, FPA, Grayskull, who knows what. My job this time, one of them, was to do some more shopping to see about what these things I might want to do. And so Grayskull is this relatively new company called Tenstorrent that's building parallel chips. I mean, they even use the term tiles and stuff like that. And Grayskull was like this $800 board that you could get and plug into a PCIe slot and try this stuff out. And I was looking into it, and I've mentioned it a few times here. So I did a checking in a little deeper. Grayskull E150 software support for Grayskull is discontinued, currently unavailable. They've actually retired Grayskull. I missed it. But, all right, so be it. Instead, they have Wormhole. Now, Grayskull, Wormhole, crawl in, crawl out, chew your guts, okay, it's doing the old, marketing thing, be noteworthy. So you can get the new card, the Wormhole, which has many more processors than Grayskull did for the low price of $1,500. And then you still have to put it into your own system and mount it, or they'll sell you an entire system, the Quiet Box, for just $15,000 that has 4 Tenstorrent Wormhole cards, so 8 of the processors inside it, and liquid cooled and this kind of stuff. I don't know. It may come to this. There are still problems. I joined the torrent. I joined the Discord for Tenstorrent, and I'm getting more of the inside dope. It's really pretty scary because I learned from watching people all the way back in the 80s who were doing their PhDs using other people's brand new hardware that's really, really a bad idea because it's going to be an incredibly hard pull. The documentation is going to be terrible, and people on the Discord are always saying, is there any documentation of the fact that SRAM is 1.5 megabytes each and so forth? And it's, well, not exactly. So I'm not sure. On the other hand, Wormhole, maybe. I don't know. I'm going to keep going. FPGAs, field programmable gate arrays, those are the individual chips that you can reconfigure to make new hardware of your own choosing rather than having to pick the Grayskull architectural decisions. And so they have these development boards. And here's one from Vertex that uses a pretty big one. FPGAs, one of the things they're measured by is how many logic elements you can configure. And I've done FPGAs before, and I did one that had maybe 100,000 logic elements in it, and I was running out of space constantly. It was an incredible pain in the ass, and even doing a fairly small thing, I was very quickly struggling to how to pack it in. So if I'm going to do an FPGA thing, I want to do a big one. So, a development board like this with 1 million gates on it, okay, that's not bad. I'm not even sure it is 1 million gates. But I don't have the slide. This board is $16,000. And again, you still have to have a computer to stick it into. Or you can spring all of the stops and you can get this chip. Now, this is just a chip. It's not even an evaluation board. But this thing, in a particular version of it, it has 8 million logic gates, and it costs $96,000. So My real issue with FPGAs is that I feel like I've done it. I'm a little tired of it. It's got all this vendor lock-in stuff, so I'm worried about that. All right, Outreach AI. I don't have time to talk about it, so like I said, folks, if they are watching the update, check out the live stream. I'll talk about it a little bit more right after the update. So the goals for next time, make something, do something by itself, and have big fun. I would like it if making something do something by itself has something to do with Beevee localizing itself, but that will be to be determined. So thank you so much for checking out the update, whether you're live or in any time in the future, and I hope to see you next time.